Boom! What's up? What's up, my guys? Welcome to another show. It's Thursday. It's Jay Money and the Shark. We coming at you with more football talk like we'll be doing all season, my guys. We always appreciate everybody tuning in. Please hit the like button, subscribe. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, it's my guy, Shark and Sports Football Guru. What's up with you, my guy? Running hot in the NFL, just like you always do. What's up with you? Everything cool?
Absolutely. My mom's birthday today. We're running back twice. Just got back from lunch. A pleasure to be here as always. And as you said, a 5-1 opening week for me. I encourage you guys to go on Twitter. I say it every day. But the plays are posted on Twitter. And, of course, it is J Money is Money. It is the Shark. We are in our element. It is Thursday Night Football, an NFC East divisional rivalry game in Summerfield, Maryland, FedEx Field. I couldn't be more excited to watch this game. Obviously, two lackluster teams theoretically. Washington did get to the playoffs last year, but the Giants have been pedestrian for years. But again, when you have historical rivalry here, they've played 200 times almost. 105, 69, and 4 New York Giants historically. It's going to be a hell of a game to watch. It's going to be a tight game. We do have an angle here. And I would say, Jay, where do you want to begin? But there's only one game on the card. So, Jay, should we just go straight business here?
I say we get straight to it, man. Obviously, the Giants have beaten them 4 straight times. Two times last year, obviously a 1-point victory. Both games were pretty close, so it'll be interesting to see. One thing I do want to say, I remember I saw your video on Twitter. You said that it was strength for the football team. I want to call them the Redskins, man. I don't give a damn, but the football team, I think they were favored by 3 last year in New York, right?
I had New York last year favored by 1.5 there. I think part of the issue here when you look at different lines, first of all, there's 10 to 15 different books, and it's when you get the line. If you look at it like, preseason, because these lines open, you got to remember, week 1, obviously September 10th or whatever, but these lines open back like before the draft. So there's all different line scaling. And obviously, actually last year when we had our competition, we had a bunch of issues with that because there were so many line options given the months. But I think the Giants were favored in Giants Stadium by 1.5 to 2 and did not cover. It was 20-19 Giants in Giants Stadium. Giants did cover in Maryland. They were a slight dog and did win the game outright 23-20.
Gotcha. No, real quick. So October 8th, I like the football team. I'm with you. October 18th, Giants at the house, favored by 1.5/2. They win by 1. Then November 8th, 2020, we have the Giants winning 23-20 at Washington at the Washington home squad or whatever. And so Washington did lay 3 at the house. Then okay, gotcha. So I was just making sure they weren't laying 3 on the road. Then they come back to the house and lay 3. So Washington last year they laid 3 at home and lost 23-20 pretty much. I don't want to say the R word, but hey, they lost 4 straight times to the Giants, man. You see what I'm saying? So what you think about Daniel Jones' quarterback? Do you think he's good, or you think he's just like an average quarterback in the NFL?
I think he's below average, actually. I think he's not going to play out. They're not going to re-sign him after his rookie contract. Getting into the actual analysis of this game, though, Jay, it is 5 straight losses, actually. 5 straight dating back to December 9th, 2018. And that is also 3 straight home losses to the Giants. Right. And the first one was a blowout loss, but that's not indicative of much. There's been a lot of turnover in the Washington franchise, particularly at the quarterback position the last 4 years. But when I really started to cap this game, I went back last year and I looked at the Washington schedule. And in the NFL, we talk about this all the time. Divisional games versus out-of-division games make a huge difference in terms of their efficiency, ATS, both home and away. Washington was 5-1 against the spread in the division last year, and they were 2-1 against the spread at home. They won outright against Dallas convincingly 25-3, and they won the opener against Philly 27-17. They did lose the Giants. That was the 1 non-cover and the 1 straight-up loss. However, we have to look at the reasoning behind that. That was off of a bye and a win against Dallas. So they beat down Dallas 25-3, had a bye, stayed home, and came back against the Giants, and there was a quarterback change. Kyle Allen had been playing quarterback for 2 or 3 weeks. And then when they came back off the bye, Alex Smith, the immortal, journeyman, injured, not Hall of Fame quality, Alex Smith. And they were terrible. The Giants came out and they were up 20-3 in that game in the first half. And then something happened at halftime. Obviously, we know ebbs and flows. But the Washington football team found their flow in the second half and really made a big push and tried to backdoor. But nonetheless, Giants did win the game. And the Giants have won 5 straight games against Washington. So I think as the first capping point, you talk about this all the time. Of course, we're an NBA channel. We're branching into the NFL. This is an insulted environment here for Washington. When a divisional team has beaten you 5 straight times, your quality has been checked. You should be insulted. You should be jacked the hell up. And this is a different group. This is a better defense. I shout OSU and my man Chase Young. He is a dog. And you look at some of these things they've given up. I mean, you go back 2 years ago, the Giants scored 41 points in Washington. This is not the same team. Last year, Washington's vaunted young defense held them to 23 points and 20 points. I think they're going to hold them down again, and I think they cover this game. I booked this at 3.5 yesterday. It's come down to 3 in some books, juiced. I would advise you guys to shop around here and get this at 3, maybe pay up to like 118, 125. This game might be close. Of course, it is the only game on the card. We're capping it to the best of our ability. But my official is Washington minus 3.5 at plus 100.
I like it. I like it whether it's at 3.5. I did take 3 minus 125 just because we know that 3 is a key number in football, and I'd hate to lose by the hook. But regardless, we like for them to win by, I say 6 points or more. The way we're looking at this game, they had a much better defense. They hung with them well last year, where, like you say, they had a much younger defense, pretty much the same guys back. Really good, much better defensive team. One thing I'll tell you guys, let you guys on a little secret. I don't know a whole lot about the NFL. I'm learning as you go, but I know the NFL, I know with the Thursdays, they really do favor the home team. Obviously, you have the road team coming in on a short week, less time to prepare, a day of travel. You have the revenge factor for Washington football team. You have the coaching edge defensively. Look, now Fitzpatrick went out, right? We don't see the line moving a ton, even because obviously a bunch of people are supposed to hop on the Giants. Oh, starting quarterback out. We got to bet on this team. Not necessarily. Taylor Heineke's had he has experience with the receivers. He has experience with this team, running the team. And I almost even like him a little bit better than Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick kind of be like a Jameis Winston 2.0 of years past. You never really know what he's going to do. Might throw some picks. Heineke was a lot more conservative, can kind of move the ball with his legs. So call me crazy, but I actually like the fact that we get a little bit of a quarterback change in here. And always listen to guys. Listen, when a sharp capper like Shark was against this team in week one with the Chargers. You see what I'm saying? And the Washington football team still hung in that game. They damn near possibly could have beat the Chargers if it weren't for red zone turnovers. I'm looking at my phone like, oh no, don't tell me they finna score. Roll with my guy with the Chargers in there. Now we come back betting on the same team that we bet against in week one. No travel at all. They stayed at the house, plenty of time for practice. They were 0-2 against the team last year. I like it. A lot of people gonna like the Giants. I am on Washington football team. Fuck that. The Redskins with my guy here. Let's cash it, my guy. Taking the home team. Contrarian fave on Thursday Night Football, my guy. Any closing words in this game?
Yeah, actually. I look at environmental functionality when we cap sports, and this is the beautiful thing about zooming out and taking the names off the jerseys and just looking at pure ATS environments. We have small window data here, but I think it's important. Last week, the Chargers did open as a favorite. They opened at -1 back in July or August, and when I first put it on record, I said take Chargers -1. Of course, that did cover as well. But when you look at that, the Washington football team did not cover as a home dog, which suggests books have a good handle over their environment. The Giants were a home dog and got blown out by Denver. And Denver is not exactly expected to be a really representative team in this particular campaign. They're expected to go about 6-10. So when the Giants get housed at home by the Broncos as a dog, and then they travel on the road and they're a dog and the line moves against them in a game that they've won 5 straight against the opponent, I think this is showing even more strength to Washington. And I think from that environmental shift, if Washington's not covering games as an underdog at home, I like them laying points at home. So I like the waiting from Vegas saying, okay, this is a favorite. I think their environment will shift. I think they cover this game. I think they win this game between 6 and 10 points.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say about this, Giants offensive line, not great at all. Football team, defensive line, pretty damn good, I must say. They should win this game in the trenches. As long as they don't give up any big plays, big pass plays, I can see Washington football team keeping it. It'll likely go under as well. I feel like, obviously, with the better defensive team, if Washington win this game, they'll likely hold the Giants under their team total and just, run the ball, lean on their defense. If it is a high-scoring game, obviously, it doesn't really bode well for. So if you like the Giants, you like the over. If you like the under kind of translate towards the football team having their way in this one, getting a couple scores, leaning on their defense. defense, my guy.
Yeah.
Like I say, that's about it for this one, man. We could chat some other games if you like, unless you got anything else you want to say, my guy.
No, this is pretty much wrapping this 10 minutes of fire. Let's talk a couple games on Sunday, and then we will obviously resume that on Sunday morning.
Let's talk them, man. I must say, man, one game I like here, Shark, we were just discussing off air. Bills they're coming in 0-1. Obviously got high aspirations this year. No, this is their first road game, but they did lose their first game of the season as favorites at the house. Now they go on the road to Miami. Now it is you worry about the heat over there, obviously in Miami, but they're coming out. Tua, maybe he got a big head now. They coming off a divisional win, now another divisional opponent here. But regardless, I believe so. But regardless, they coming off their win versus the Patriots here, my guy. What you thinking? I know you don't necessarily have a play on this one, but which side would you lean to, my guy?
This is really tough. And for those of you guys who are watching, we appreciate the hell out of you guys for watching. Get ready for a hell of a campaign all fall and winter in the NBA. And, of course, we love the gridiron. The gridiron is fun, and it is accessible to wager on. That being said, there's counter narratives across a lot of games this particular week. I was just saying to Jay, I could write an essay for either side of a lot of these games, and I could send it to you guys, and you'd be convinced it was the best bet of the week. There are great points to both sides in a ton of these games. And this one, for me, is the same model. I looked at Miami, and here's a point about Miami. Miami's also lost 5 straight games to Buffalo. It's the same environment that we're capping tonight. So you get that quintuple over and over beatdown in their mind. Mike Flores is a great coach, ex-Patriot. He'll have that in their mind. How many times is this team going to beat our ass? And actually, if you go back to last September, Buffalo laid a similar figure. They laid 3.5, and it came out to 5. I think a lot of public action on Buffalo, and they did not cover. They won 31-28 in Miami. And at the time, I believe it was Ryan Fitzpatrick at the helm. But I'm just a little worried that Buffalo was way too hot against the spread last year. They covered almost every game last year. And I think what you saw in week 1 against Pittsburgh was actually sort of just a dispersion loss, where last year they ran kind of hot in small windows. And to cover football games in the NFL, you have to get a little lucky sometimes. You get a bounce here, you get an opportunistic turnover in some places, and then you cover. And you saw what happened last week against Pittsburgh. They were up 10-0 at the half, and they were in full control in the third quarter. Pittsburgh gets a blocked punt for a TD. The whole game flips. Pittsburgh outscores them in the fourth quarter by double digits. But that's such variance, right? So last year in those small window variance spots, Buffalo got really hot. They won almost all of them. And my thoughts are, I don't think they're not a playoff team. Believe me, I think they'll be in the second round of the playoffs. But I wonder, in a 17-game calendar, did they run just way too hot last year where it should come back, particularly in the early season here, where a team that lost in the playoffs last year may not have their absolute A game. I watched some of that game. Even when they're up 10-0 at the half up in Orchard Park, they weren't really sharp, to be perfectly honest. A lot of 3-and-outs, not really good on third down, in plus territory in particular. And I think if I had to really go with it, I would lean Miami here on a short figure. And I think the quintuple revenge with all these aforementioned points would probably lean me towards Miami if I had to.
I got you. I like Buffalo. Sometimes a team just owns another team. I know Miami's pretty good, had a pretty good year last year, but me personally, I think they'll have not necessarily as good as the years they had last year. Obviously, Tua is plenty of film out there on them now. There's no surprises from the Dolphins. The Dolphins suck now. No, they're on people's radar, and the Bills likely won't start out the season 0-2. Obviously, anything's possible, but I do like the Bills to bounce back, my guys. I did put half my wager on the 3.5, the other half on the -3, just in case. I hate betting 3.5s, man, because if it falls on that 3, it's one of the things that just really pisses me off, my guys. But let's go to another game here. I know you say you had some. We're just gonna fly through some games here. LA Rams coming off I must say, coming off a huge win. Obviously gonna be a huge public team or whatever. They are laying 3.5, 4 points versus the Colts. I'm not a big fan of the Colts. I'm not a big fan of Wentz, but I must say, not necessarily a really good spot for the Rams. They are flying across country, which is something you want to look at. They are the better team. Be interested to see if this defense eats up Carson Wentz alive, or if they can get into the flow in this game. What you looking at, my guy?
Yeah, having gone into this about 12 hours ago, I do stay up all night looking at this, and I love to do it. I think the over is actually a great look here. And I think there's going to be a lot of public unders coming in here, because what do we always say about public capping? They look at last week, and they think it's going to immediately repeat itself. Guys, there's a lot more to sports than just looking at yesterday and thinking it's going to happen again. And you have to go back to last year. Look at how the Rams traveled last year outside of the division. Super high totals. 27-24 at Tampa, 35-32 at Buffalo, a couple other ones. They defend much better at home. The defense doesn't travel particularly well. And if you look at Indy, let's be real honest here. Carson Wentz is not great, but Phillip Rivers was not great last year either, right? So it's
better than Wentz, man. Better than Wentz.
All I'm going to say here is that this is not like we just lost Peyton Manning in 2008 and we moved on to Carson Wentz. We went from a real aging Phillip Rivers, who was averaging, roughly 200 passing yards a game. His passer rating was lackluster, to Carson Wentz, right? And this number is coming up, man. 47.5 is a big number when you look at what happened in week 1 for Indy. They just couldn't score the ball against Seattle. I mean, Seattle wasn't amazing, obviously 28-16, but I think you're going to see a lot more points here. And one game that I really like as a cross-referencing point is the out-of-conference, out-of-division game that Indy played last year against Green Bay, which was a 34-31 shootout. I think the Rams are going to come in here. I think Stafford's going to let it fly, and I think the game's going to open up.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I couldn't talk you off that one. I must say, guys, I'm not a huge Rams fan. I'm not from St. Louis. I'm not from LA, but I do like the Rams. I do think they'll be in the Super Bowl. They got a huge upgrade at quarterback. Doesn't necessarily translate to this game. Like I say, if I had to bet it, no public Joe stuff, but if I had to bet it, I do think they are a better team. If the Rams are on a true mission, they should win these type of games. Obviously, you're going to drop a few during the NFL season, but if I feel like if they're on a mission to win the Super Bowl, you should win against inferior teams. And even though it's on the road, they should still go in here and handle business. But like I say, it's not a game that I'll be betting. You make really good points there with the Indianapolis offense not necessarily looking good. Rams, in theory, if they do tank this game, doesn't necessarily have to be on the offensive side. It could be on the defensive side. It could happen. I'm not a huge fan of this Colts offensive line. Even Wentz was running for his life last week as well. So be interesting to see what happens there, my guys. Look at another game here. We got the Patriots versus the Jets here. Surprisingly, this line opened up at 3.5. It was at 5.5 earlier today. It's up to 6 at most spots here. What do you think? Is it as simple as just keep fading the Jets until they show something? Obviously, we got Bill Belichick and a pretty good Patriots defense going up against a rookie quarterback here. What you thinking about this one, my guy?
Yeah, this one I honestly didn't get super deep on. I am a Patriots fan. I was actually living in the Boston area in the early 90s.
You got the hat on. You got the hat on over there.
No, and I mean, I got to be real honest. Like, I'm from New York, but when I was a kid in the early 90s, I lived in Boston, and I wasn't a football fan. And the Patriots at the time had Bill Parcells, drafted Drew Bledsoe, and went to the Super Bowl in 1996 against Brett Favre. So I've been a Patriots fan since about 1993. And I love the Patriots. And the point I'm going towards here is sometimes it's hard to cap your own team. Mm-hmm. And I've never really had a ton of success betting the Patriots, mostly because I didn't take them enough because they covered so frequently. And I would always overthink it, like my team's too good, they're too hot, whatever. So staying on that point, I do think that the Patriots would be the side here.
Your brother loves the Patriots.
Yeah.
Your brother would bet the Patriots down there. Like all those games during Cash or Tom Brady, your brother's like, oh, no, we're covering this shit. I remember seeing him post on Twitter, like, just contrary to you, he bets them damn near every game. And now that I think about it, Mac Jones, you have a rookie quarterback going on the road here now, even though obviously the Patriots are a better unit than the Jets. I don't know what to do with the Jets here. Obviously, this number is starting to get higher now, possibly close around -7. Patriots the only way I can look, but now that I think about it, recollect Mac Jones actually rookie quarterback going on the road here. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of him. I'm not necessarily saying they shouldn't have got rid of Cam, but I'm Mac Jones has to show me. So I know that's one of those things that you're not supposed to say, but I'm not a huge fan of him. We'll see what happens in this one. A lot of people thought that Patriots going to win easy versus Miami at the house in week 1, and they end up losing 17-16. Obviously, they should have their way with this Jets defense, but let's see what happens in this one. Patriots are nothing for me. My God, but hey, Jets might surprise some people. One of these, I kind of like Zach Wilson. It's just their defense is just trash. That's why I can't get there with them, my guy. Let's talk about another one. We got the 49ers versus the I was going to say the 76ers, man. 49ers versus the Eagles, my guy. Niners were laying 3.5. Looks like it's coming down to 3 at some books. Obviously, Jalen Hurts looked like he looked really good out there versus a very bad Atlanta Falcons defense, right? So what do you think in this one? You think the 49ers, they kind of start to tank at the end of that Lions game? You never know what happened with that one. A lot of money on the Niners that one, but they were up 2018 and tanked that one. What do you think? They were getting ready for this Eagles game?
No, I don't think they were looking ahead of the Eagles, because I don't think that if you look at who the Niners are right now, obviously Super Bowl 2 years ago, a little more of a veteran group. I don't think that they're really looking ahead to Jalen Hurts on the road. I'm sorry, I just don't. But at the same time, this is a short figure, and you ask yourself a question. Is this going to be a contrarian side Eagles take? Eagles are going to be the sharp line, the sharp take. But then I ask myself, after getting backdoored, are they going to come in here and take care of business? And we talk about environmental shift. Eagles just covered as a road dog. Now they come home as a home dog. Totally different environment. Do you come home? How do you come out of your home? You talk about this in the NBA all the time. You're at home with your family. You travel to the stadium. Some teams really take on a good hotel travel, like get angry, rally together environment. Not only that, they played Atlanta. Atlanta is one of the worst teams in the entire sport right now. And now they get San Francisco at home. Obviously, the line could be poorly adjusted by Vegas odds makers. I really do think that San Francisco should be laying at least 4.5 points here for good weighting. But then I ask myself, how much are they weighting the fact that San Francisco has back-to-back games traveling through Detroit and Philly, which could be a tough travel. We're not in the locker room with these guys daily. We're not, on that team playing. We don't really know exactly how their mental makeup is for this type of opening back-to-back on the East Coast type of environment. So it's a tough game for me.
Exactly. So just know, guys, the 49ers did stay on the East Coast. They didn't travel back to the house. They did stay on the East Coast to get ready for this game. So if you do like the Niners, it does help. If you're fading them just on them moving cross country, just what I'm saying, it could be a little different situation. Total is up from 48 to 50. Plenty of money coming on the over. Bengals versus Bears, my guy. You liking this one?
Bengals is probably going to be a top look for me here. And I don't want to go into too much detail to spoil a bunch of content this weekend. But the Bears, I think, are poorly adjusted on the line. And I think really when you look back last year, of course, Joe Burrow did get hurt in week 10, I believe, at Washington. And if you really go through their schedule, Cincinnati's purely, as one word would define, scrappy. They are always there. Their back door is always open. They're going to give you a final possession. I even bring you back to week 1. Look at the final possession at the half. They got the ball back inside of a minute, and they went deep to Jamar Chase. At LSU, touchdown. And you go back last year, go through their road games, they were a cover artist. And that's not going to go the other direction, I don't think. That's only going to get better as Burrow gets more refined and more professional and his receiving core really grows with him. I think Bengals win the game, and it's a top look for me.
Got you. I don't want to say too much about it. What if you got Andy Dalton facing on squad? Not necessarily revenge, anything like that. He does kind of know his squad. I'm not. So look, I'm not a fan of Andy Dalton. He didn't look terrible versus the Rams, I must say. I mean, some drop passes and stuff. I can't necessarily just put the game on. That game was on their defense. They're just absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
What do you think about? Because I really do feel like there may not be a single person. I mean, it's not what you think about it, because obviously you like Cincy. I kind of feel like a lot of people will be on the Bengals. I think a lot of people are going to be fading the Bears as well. I know Joe Burrow's nice. They got some receivers. I don't know, man. I was kind of looking at a contrarian play on the Bears. I hate the coach, so I can't bet the Bears. But I think at some point, if Dalton isn't looking good at all, or if they get down, I think we'll see Fields pretty early. They're at the house, get the crowd behind them. He might give a shot in the arm to that team. It's just scenarios where I could see the Bears win this game, especially at 2.5. There's scenarios where I could see them winning by 3. Just contrarian take.
Well, a couple points on that. Andy Dalton has never been terrible. I mean, he's always been serviceable. So
he was terrible with the Cowboys. I'm sorry, I had to cut you off. He was terrible with the Cowboys.
Super small sample, though. Like, super small sample there. I'm saying going back over 10 years. He's always been kind of the same guy. Like, he never made a run in the playoffs. He's never going to wow you with his arm. He's always been a serviceable game managing type quarterback with mild upside, more so in his prime. But I do look at what, even the home field advantage type of thing. Trust me, I've been to Chicago a lot. I love Chicago. It's a great city, great people, beautiful women. But September in Chicago is not November. It's not going to be cold. The wind is not going to be too terrible in terms of traveling, and also a team that's dependent on Joe Burrow's arm throwing the ball. If this was in December and there was wind, you could really, really take their game plan out of the game, and it could shift to Chicago. Obviously, Khalil Mack and the boys just laying the hammer down in like a 16-13 win or something like that. But I think here in September, week 2, I think you're going to see points. Also, a side point on that, the total is pretty damn high for a Chicago Bears home game. And I think when you look at that total, this is not necessarily saying that the Bears offense is going to carry that total. They're saying Cincinnati's going to come in, and this is what Cincinnati's offense is going to do. So I think the total actually is telling you a good story to take Cincinnati here.
Got you. My last thing I know the Bears, the defense may not be as same as years past. They're really good defense, but I do think a little bit of it is skewed to how bad the Rams put on a show on them. You can't really fault them too bad. The Rams, in my opinion, will have one of the better offense, one of the best top 3 offenses in the league this year, my guys. But that's just me. Real quick, we got the Broncos heading on the road versus Jacksonville. Man, Jacksonville got smoked by the Texans. I could see them losing that game, but damn, they made them boys look like world beaters. What do you think about, obviously, Jacksonville, one of the worst teams in the league? They kind of talk about Urban Meyer even possibly going to USC. He shot it down. Do you buy into the Broncos hype, my guy? And they're laying points on the road back-to-back weeks here.
Man, this is, again, another one where I could write a good essay on both sides. Because, truthfully, you'd like to buy Jacksonville after they got absolutely embarrassed on the road in week 1. But, of course, there's a lot of elements there. First of all, it was Trevor Lawrence's first career game. It was Urban Meyer's first professional game as a coach. It was also a divisional game. It was also a divisional rivalry where the Texans have some guys that have beat up on the Jags for years and like to play the Jags. And the Texans have a new coach as well, who was in his home debut trying to show out for the fans. So there were so many elements that really spoke to the Texans. That was a great take. Shout out my guy who knows the guy. He had them and he nailed that. Obviously, a really sharp take, and anybody who had the Texans in week 1. But then we always talk about consistency, the inconsistency. You come home, it's a complete environmental shift. Home game outside of the division. And you get Denver here coming in here off a blowout game at the Giants. So it's like, again, can Denver, with Teddy Bridgewater and really a pedestrian head coach, in my opinion, back up success with success on the road? One of the hardest things to do in the NFL is win and cover back-to-back road games. We just talked about it with San Francisco. San Francisco is miles ahead of where Denver is. If we're questioning if San Francisco can do it, you better believe we're going to question if Denver can do it. Really. And again, we don't have enough information about Trevor Lawrence. I think he's going to be a hell of a pro. His skill set is impeccable. I think the major leak here would be Urban Meyer, to be honest, going forward. Urban Meyer is a great college coach, but college coaching does not translate to the NFL. And, bizarrely, it seems like lesser college coaches translate better to the NFL. I give you Cliff Kingsbury. He was not a great college coach. Texas Tech was pedestrian for years, hovered around 500 in the Big 12. He comes in here, innovative offense, Kyler Murray. They're damn good. But OG-style college coaches like Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, Steve Spurrier, etc., they don't travel well. They don't travel to the NFL well. And I just don't know if this Urban thing is going to really connect. And that would be a counterpoint for me here. But, at the same time, will the Broncos back up and cover 2 straight road games? This is a big number for them on the road.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I do think Urban Meyer should take the USC job, in my opinion. Obviously, you're rebuilding. You didn't just take an NFL job. You have to rebuild an NFL squad who's playing with a bunch of young guys. You see what I'm saying? So it's going to be really tough for not just this year, but years to come. One thing that I want to say on this one, obviously, the Broncos have a really good defense. This total was at 44. It's up to 45.5. So I don't know. I kind of feel like that kind of favors Jacksonville a little bit more, in my opinion, because I feel like if Broncos come in here and dominate, right? The total should be coming down, in my opinion, it's for the favorite. So that's just what I have to say about it. It's a tough game. Houston versus Cleveland. Simply put, I don't think the Texans are that good that they showed in week 1. And you see this line, and I think the Browns are going to be very good. They have a lot to show here. They need someone to take some frustration out on. This one could get ugly, my God. Double digits in NFL is not a thing you're supposed to do. But in this situation, I'd be looking at Browns versus Texans.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Cleveland will be on my board at minus 12.5. And, when you go back last year, Cleveland played very well at home ATS, and there's one real specific corollary I would like for this game. Week 3 last year against Washington, back when Washington was trotting out Dwayne Haskins, the pride of OSU, but he was a very pedestrian quarterback for them. The Cleveland Browns did take care of them comfortably, 34-20. And I think the game will be at least 34-20. I think they cover this, and I think they win by 14 plus.
I'm not sure if the Texans going to score 20 against them, to be honest with you. I know,
but I think Cleveland will score at least 35 points here too.
No, I got you. I know what you mean. I'm just saying, as far as me, I think like the Browns still get there 34, but Tyrod Taylor looked pretty good, and he's going up against a really tough defense this week. Really tough that's going to be pissed off as well. I mean, they almost beat the Chiefs. I feel like they deserve to beat the Chiefs. Sharp call by you as well, my guy, on that +6, +5.5. Nice casher. Saints versus the Panthers here. Saints versus Panthers. Another one. Do we see Jameis Winston look that good? I must say here, it's tough because Saints look really good and they're supposed to, but I might look towards the Panthers. I don't know, man. I'm not betting this game. I'm just saying, as far as a lean and a huge overreaction, a lot of people are going to bet the Saints thinking things are going to be easy this week. And James Winston could look, just a little bit more pedestrian is the only thing I'm saying. Then now you're going to lay points on the road, a lot of stuff going on in your hometown. You see what I'm saying? What you think on this one?
I think the sharp look would be Carolina. But I do think there's counterpoints to it. The one counterpoint I would quickly reference is the fact that Carolina barely covered against the Jets at home. And I don't know how much of a look-ahead environment that was. Obviously, you make the great point. 38-3, Jameis and the boys against Aaron Rodgers. They're not going to back that up with the same effort. Last year, the Saints did beat Carolina 33-7 in the final game of the season in Charlotte, and they laid 6 points. So we go to the way we look at NBA. You get the revenge game, and you get it in a small window environment too. It's only 2 games removed. So it's going to be ripe in their mind, just an absolute bloodbath. And the line is scaling against it. New Orleans was laying 6 points there, and they come in here at 3.5. So again, we always talk about this. When you're laying 6 and you win by 26 and you come back to the same environment, it should come up to 7.5. It shouldn't bump down to 3.5. So purely from the numerical aspect that we absolutely dominate the NBA and college basketball with, this is a numerical take for Carolina.
Exactly. And I think it possibly could sneak in there as well, man. It could. But it's just one more game I really want to talk about. We can just say a few more words about any other one if you'd like to, but just me personally, I'm fading the Raiders this week, my guys. It could be, hey, the Steelers could have a letdown after a huge win versus the Bills, or they could come to the house and show up. Regardless, it's a bet against spot for the Raiders for me after a huge win on Monday Night Football. Now you're traveling cross country. They are a bit one-dimensional, in my opinion, with Waller over there. I feel like they was going up against a little bit stronger defense. We know the Ravens lost a bunch of their cornerbacks, a lot of blown coverages there, and the Ravens almost were on the cusp of blowing them out. I think they'll have not necessarily good showing on the road here. I think Pitt shows up, win this game by at least a touchdown here, my guy. What you thinking?
Yeah, this is tough for me. Good counterpoints either way. The only thing I don't really like about fading Las Vegas is the way Vegas traveled to Cleveland last year. They did beat Cleveland on the road 16-6. And it's a similar environment, obviously, in that central area of the country up there. Cleveland and Pittsburgh are not too far apart. I couldn't disagree with you from the standpoint of fading Oakland off of a major win in week 1. I'm personally just not particularly bullish on Pittsburgh this year. I think Pittsburgh, again, similar to what we said with Buffalo, they covered a lot last year. They won 11 straight games. And again, you have to look at the construction of the wins. This is not the 2007 Patriots who were beating teams by 35 points every week. It was really close against the number. A lot of small window things went their way. Opportunistic turnovers, some real leaky mistakes from the opponent. I don't know. I wouldn't get behind either side here. And I wouldn't talk you off the Steelers take. I just think, again, going back to last year, if you zoom out to like an 18, 20 game sample, they've been too hot. So I don't know how long that's going to continue.
Got you. It makes sense. I must say the offensive line, hey, they got this young guy out of Alabama, Richardson. bunch of penalties, he's gonna be having up against him, man, going against TJ Watt. Like I say, I always thought ever since last year, they're a bit one-dimensional. They want to go to Waller pretty much every play. You got Minka Fitzpatrick over there. I like the matchups, I must say. So obviously the Steelers to come in here and win this game by 3. It's possible there's a little bit of high spread, but I definitely think the Steelers win. I definitely think the Raiders have a letdown, short week with travel as well. Less rest, less time to recover. You got to give a day to recover as well. Bit one-dimensional, bad offensive line. We'll see what happens. But I like the Steelers there, my guy, man. It's the show today, man. We are on recap them one time, man. Let them know the top plays, Shark, before we get out of here.
Top play Thursday Night Football, FedEx Field, divisional rivalry. 5 straight losses for Washington in a heads-up matchup between the Giants. We go back to last year. We said this before. The last 2 games at Maryland between these two, one went to overtime and one was a 3-point win for the Giants, in which Alex Smith was starting. Kyle Allen had gotten hurt in a prior win against Dallas. It was a letdown spot off a bye and a QB change. I think that this is going to flip tonight. I think Washington will show up, be pissed off, be really focused off of an outright loss last week and off of 5 consecutive losses to the Giants. My top play, Washington -3.5, -3, depending on what book you're at, 1 unit.
Got you. We're going with the Washington Redskins / football team / we need to come up with a new name for these motherfuckers. I'm not finna be calling them the football team. So I don't care. I still call them the Redskins. I like it better. Pay homage to the Native Americans, the guys that were actually in this country first anyway. They shouldn't be taking offense to it. But that's a whole nother conversation. Washington football team, -3, 3.5. We like it, my guy. Let's get a 4-point or more win. Let's cash some tickets. It's my guys. Just go and follow them. Let me put it back up real quick. At Sharkin Sports on Twitter. If you're not following them, if you don't have a Twitter, go and create a Twitter, my guys. At Sharkin Sports. We'll be live on here again on Sunday morning, man. Let's cash some tickets. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hit the like button, subscribe, and we out, my guys. Let's get a Smack City spot tonight.